What's going on, guys? It's Jordan and Jonathan again, Nick City Rock. Just wanted to, obviously, it's a bad way to go out for us. We lost. So now it's on to the off season. So obviously very disappointed. And, we was looking forward to, you know, going in to this series. I speak for myself. I was very excited, and I thought that we kind of dodged the bullet with not having to face Giannis in Milwaukee, and the tough team that they had. After just coming off of winning the chip, like a couple years ago. So it's like I was kind of nervous about that. I mean, not nervous. I was feeling good, about our chances going against the Heat. So, now realizing that we lost and how hard the games was, even from game one, like I can remember just how difficult it was for us to even take a lead and just how they just set the tone and they already kind of game one. I remember a lot of fans were like kind of pessimistic. How are we gonna do? It's like it's gonna be tough for us to beat the Heat. Just like because we just got beat at home against them. And that's something that once we played the Cavs, we were obviously this was a totally different team, well coached team. Eric Spoelstra. At this point, I really have to tip my hat off to him. I have to tip my hat off to Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo, and also all those role players over there for the Heat. They have a very well run team. Very it's hard to really match up against them at times with like just how they play so cohesively. So first player, I definitely got to tip my hat off to, and he deserves a trophy. He deserves the world. He deserves more money than what he's getting paid. Jalen Brunson, man, like Jalen Brunson. Without Jalen Brunson, where would we be? Like that's a great question right there. Like I don't think we wouldn't be nowhere near. We would have never got as far as we did without him. And I think it's clear that he's the best player on our team, and he's the centerpiece of our team, and we should be treating him as such from here on out. Here on out, going into the off season and things like that. So 28 points per game on I think it was like 4 assists and what is it, like 5 rebounds for the regular season. I mean, not the regular season, but the playoffs. All these playoffs games, he's maintained his production. Still been one of our best player. Well, our best player, and continue. Even though he tweaked his ankle at one point in the playoffs. So he's just continued to be that guy who continues to go. Like, and he, no matter if he has injuries or not, if he's able to walk, I feel like I heard him say that before. He said, if I could walk, I could play, or something, like, what I'm saying? So he's that gamer. He's got that gamer mentality. And, I just think that at the point guard position, we shouldn't even worry about that. We need to worry about, filling out the rest of our team. So then I gotta go to Julius Randle, man. I gotta go to Julius Randle. Yeah, yeah. I got to. So, Julius, man, he had a great season. First off, I really want to say that. Yeah, it couldn't have got no better than that. For one, he was an all team, third team, all NBA. You know what I'm saying? That's a great, even though it's third team, that's still saying something, and that's a great accomplishment in itself. On top of that, he was an all-star this season. So, I was hearing a lot of people just getting on RJ about this past game that he had, and saying like, oh, he should have did better, just down the third. But what about Randall? This is our All NBA guy. This is our All Star. This is the guy that we depend on and took us far. Like he took us where we needed to go. But like as soon as he got into the playoffs, he just kind of willowed away. Kind of forgot how to play basketball. The effort just started to go down. Like especially once his play would go down. He's not making shots. Then the defense goes down, and that's one thing that has irked my nerves with Julius Randle for years. Just when you it doesn't matter. That's why I don't mean to get off on a tangent, but that's why I love Quickly so much. he might go down. He might he might not shoot well, but he's gonna play great defense. He's gonna continue to give you that effort, and that's what we needed from Randall, our main player. So going into the offseason, we'll see what's going on with him. He's still under contract, but uh, like I said, we need to keep in mind that Jalen Brunson is the centerpiece, and he's the person we building around. So, anybody else, they might be in question of staying here as a Knick. At this point, that's the way. That's how I feel at this point. So, I would say R.J. Barrett, hell of a season. I'll just say that. How we feel about R.J. Barrett is well documented on this on this show, on this channel. It's been early, but it's pretty well documented. We know we've had our struggles with R.J. Barrett and just how off and on he can be at times and how hot and cold. And he kind of showed that last night, how he was very cold. But, in all, throughout this postseason, I will say he did pretty well. He had a great, for a 22-year-old kid, I can't be mad at what he did, the production. He had great games, like the past couple games was very great. So I could never, I'm giving him a pass, so to speak, for this, that last game because, he did what he's supposed to do, but Julius Randle, not so much. But, going back to RJ, I just feel like, I think we should continue to keep him here and see what he can do as far as, just seeing where this can go, because we got him for another 4 years under contract, and let's see where this can take him, see if he can continue to get better, because he definitely showed that he can be a great piece, a great, complementary piece to Brunson, who's going to score. He showed a lot of great effort on defense. I would just say overall it was great. I guess we can go to the bench. I'll talk about the bench briefly. Josh Hart, he finished off great. I would say out of all the other players on the Knicks, Josh Hart was the only other player that really helped Brunson last night. You know what I'm saying? Like he played a pretty good game. But I think going into the offseason, they definitely got to work with him on shooting. Shoot the ball, Josh. Like when you get an open shot, shoot it, man. Like that's the only thing. That's my only problem with him. And I know that's easily adjustable. Like that's not easily, but like that's something that with work and time and be it chemistry with your teammates, you'll get better. Like he'll have more trust in himself. So that's one thing I just need him to work on. But other than that, that was a great pickup for us. And I have to even say, like, I don't know where we would be without Josh Hart, And that was a great, pickup for us in the second half of the season to get us to that, upper echelon of where we needed to be and have that position in the playoffs. So hats off to him. Obi Toppin, he was pretty good. He was pretty good too off season. I mean not off, like in the postseason he's pretty good. Coming off the bench, he pretty serviceable. But I that's the only question mark I could say is like I don't really even want to talk too much because like I don't know what we'll see from Obi Toppin like going down the line because I feel like this team they're gonna make some decisions and I don't know if Obi's gonna be a part of those decisions. But as far as what he did in this postseason, I think he did great. For what we needed him to do for the minutes he did play. He had two pivotal threes. In the what you call it in the game. In Game 6 to kind of help us. So besides him hitting threes, it was only Brunson. So we just need we need some more players that can help Jalen Brunson. Who are going to be as consistent as he is or as close to as consistent as he is in order to, kind of take that pressure off him and not feel like he has to do everything. And just kind of to put a bow on what and kind of pass it to you in a second, I feel like, because of, him having to put the team on his back so often last game, and even just like I said, throughout this whole postseason, just like that specific play towards the end where he turned the ball over, I could never penalize him for that. He without him, we wouldn't even been in that spot, of being down 2 with how many seconds left, you know what I'm saying? And being in position to almost win that game. He he almost carried our Nick. Those Julius Randle, RJ, he almost carried them to the finish line, to game 7. He almost carried that, you know what I'm saying, by himself. So I can't penalize him for that turnover. We just need a lot. We need a lot better production from our All NBA player. That's what we need, man. It's kind of no more simple than that. But I just want to pass it on to you, man. Yeah.
All right, so yeah, so obviously, the Knicks fall short to the Heat 4 games to 2. As a New York Knicks fan, no one should be hanging their head low. They should be high. I'm proud to be a Knicks fan. I personally thought they would not even make the playoffs this year, let alone make the second round. Obviously, losing to the Heat is not the team that we wanted to get bounced by, but unfortunately, that's the case. But overall, I think we finally found the guy that we've been searching for, Jalen Brunson, who has been absolutely sensational throughout the entire year. And the last, 3 games of this Heat series, he has clearly shown that he's the best player on the Knicks. And he's pretty much also shown that he's probably one of the best players in the entire league, maybe top 20, maybe top 15. But I mean, the last game, he got 41 points, which was absolutely phenomenal. And he shot the ball 22 times. He made 14 out of 22, and he got 41 points, which is absolutely amazing. This is a guy who has been, playing as hard as he possibly can. And as a Knicks fan, we've been searching for him ever since, Melo left. So, and we finally got him. So, as a Knicks fan, even though we lost, and it's sad that we lost, but it's a good sign that Jalen Brunson is on our team. It's unfortunate that this game 6, only really needed to have one additional player to do at least mildly okay. I mean, we're looking at Julius Randle, RJ. Me and Jordan have been giving RJ his flowers. Has a rocky road throughout the year, but that 1 for 10 performance in Game 6, I think people are just throwing mud at him, throwing tomatoes at him for no reason. I mean, it's Game 6. It's going to be hard for a 22-year-old to show out, and he's really honestly our third option who barely gets the ball. And Julius Randle, who's get the ball a lot, he had a lot of bad shots, and he went 3 for 14. I'm really looking at Randle. Obviously, if you followed us, watched our shorts, I was very critical on Randle throughout this series, and I'm going to be critical on him in this show today because, if he made 2 of those shots, 2 more, 3 more shots, whatever, the Knicks win Game 6, and we're talking about our season still happening, and we're talking about Game 7 on Monday. Yeah, he didn't. He only made 3. But overall, like Jordan was saying, I think this is a good season for the Knicks. Jalen Brunson, we finally found him. RJ, he played good, and in the playoffs, he also played good. Yeah, he had a nightmare Game 6, but Julius Randle also again had a good season, even though he had his ups and downs. He still had a good season. Unfortunately, he was inconsistent in the playoffs, but I still think he managed throughout the season, got the Knicks to where they were. He just needs to really step his game up, and unfortunately, he didn't do that in Game 6. And then talking about the bench, like you mentioned, Jordan, I think the bench was fine. I think they could have produced a little bit more. Josh Hart, he was wide open for so many times, and he just didn't shoot. There's the one shot in Game 6 where he was wide open and he did make it. But basically, at a point in time, Eric Spoelstra was just daring him to shoot the ball, and every time he shot it, it was terrible. So, but
Yeah.
outside of Josh Hart, Emmanuel Quickly, he had a great season, amazing ending of the season, and then he just got spooked in the playoffs, and unfortunately he got injured, so he couldn't really, his playoff outing was shortened because of that injury. But I think his regular season was sensational. He almost won the Sixth Man of the Year award. So in regards to Quickly, I think he did a great job. He could have done better in the playoffs, but I can't really throw him under the bus too hard. And Obi Toppin, I think he did a great job during the season and a good job in the playoffs. I think he should have been played more. but Tibbs has got his ways, and it is what it is. And the last person I want to just mention before I throw it back to Jordan, Quentin Grimes, who I think had an absolutely phenomenal year. I mean, he has proven that he is one of our best defenders. He can defend the perimeter absolutely phenomenal. And when he was 1-on-1 against Jimmy Butler, I mean, he's got highlights on highlights against Jimmy Butler throughout that series. He was a big part in kind of eliminating Jimmy Butler in a way out of a couple of those games, because usually, when we talk about playoff Jimmy Butler, he usually goes for 35, 40, so on and so forth. And with Quentin Grimes on there, he kind of really restricts his play, but we'll dive in deeper about the coverage and stuff like that later, hopefully in this show. But I just think Quentin Grimes, he's fighting himself. He just needs to get more shots, and he just needs to keep continuing to play great defense. But before I just throw it back to Jordan, as a Knicks fan, again, like this was a great season. Some Knicks fans are kind of, the jury's out for most people for Randall, Tibbs, and all that stuff, and they're quick to go to the offseason talk. But I just think it's tough to endure game 6 because we were right there, like Jordan was saying. Jalen Brunson, it's 90-92, and there's a minute left, and he gets that turnover, which unfortunately, knowing Jalen Brunson, his mindset, he's going to be thinking about that turnover for the entire offseason. Until October, that turnover is going to be running through his head, and he just scored 41 points off of 14 for 22 shooting. But
Right.
overall, I just think, I'm happy to be a Knicks fan, even though it was a tough way to go. But I'm hanging my head up high, so I'll throw it back to Jordan here.
Yeah. So I kind of wanted to go back to quickly. Yeah. Obviously, I'm not going to throw him under the bus. I don't want to say it like that because I know that throwing, that sounds low. It sounds bad, throwing him under the bus. But I would definitely say that I felt like he could have did a lot better. You know what I'm saying? I expected him to kind of grow up. This is your second year being in the playoffs. You was in the playoffs 2021. You ain't do too well then. And then you was young. You was young then, but a couple years now later, you done got a lot better. You done showed a lot better. Offense and defense on both. All together. You just became a totally overall better player. So I was. I have to be honest. I was expecting, for him to at least be a little bit better than what he was. And then, like you said, obviously, unfortunately, he got hurt, and it's hard not to wonder if we was to have him in this game, and if he was to score at least a couple points for us, where would we be? This discussion probably would be a whole lot different. And like you said, our season might continue to be going. So that's definitely something that runs through my mind. Like I said, and then you said Quentin Grimes. Yeah, Quentin Grimes had a great season. Great season. It's just kind of hard, in his position. I can only imagine how hard it is in his position. Only getting the ball a few times a game. You only get a couple shot attempts. And those is like make or miss attempts. And you didn't. Other than that, you're not really getting the ball. So you getting less than 10 shots every game, more times than not. And then you got to play defense on the best player, game in and game out, game in and game out. Jimmy Butler, and he did a great job of doing, guarding Jimmy, and like I said, making that great play last game, and the game before last game, and it's just unfortunate, like I said, that we weren't able to make it. But like I said, I think with our young players, with Quentin Grimes, with Quickly, Obi, I think we have young players who we can build off of. I don't know if they all going to be here. I don't foresee them all to be here, after, by next season, or, in the coming years, just because it's like, it's only so much money that can be divvied out. It's only, and everybody want to get paid. So that's the only difficult thing. But I would say, just kind of like thinking about, also Thibs and his adjustments and what he did throughout this. He had a great series against JB Bickerstaff. You could definitely tell that, him just being a more seasoned coach and being in more playoff moments and situations, he had a lot more knowledge and of what to do and kind of how to win that series against Cleveland. But you could definitely tell once he got it, once he came up against Spoelstra, that it was just kind of a whole nother animal, and it was just a lot more difficult to make adjustments. And the adjustments he did make were, kind of questionable at times, and it was just like, a lot of the buttons that Eric Spoelstra was pushing was working, and it's just kind of it's a learning experience for Tibbs as well, I think, and hopefully that makes him a better coach. You know, I don't. We'll see. I don't foresee him to be, especially after this season. I don't foresee him to get fired or anything like that. I expect him to be coming back next year and seeing what he can do again with the team we got. Hopefully, maybe a different look to our team. But I'm definitely expecting our players to grow up even more next year and like learn a lot more. And I would say, if anything, y'all definitely should be motivated. They should be a lot more motivated by seeing Jalen Brunson and what he has done this season, and just to get better and just obviously not live up to what he is, but just make them want to work that much more harder to hopefully get to where, at least get close to where he is as a player, or just get better, just using that as motivation. So yeah, man, just wanted to kick it back to you there.
Yeah, I agree with everything you say. First, I'll talk about the Spoelstra and Tibbs coaching, I guess, competition. Clearly, in this series, Spoelstra took advantage of Tibbs. He's way more adjustable, if you would say. He's on the fly. He can adjust the game quicker, and he can make adjustments to where it fixes the Heat, regardless whether it's offense or defense, and it just continues to give them positive movement going forward in the game. To where Tibbs, he kind of really just lives and dies by the plays that he usually goes with. And you saw it in Game 6. Obviously, we talked about Quentin Grimes, who really kind of didn't see the ending of Game 6 because Tibbs' rotation consisted of keeping Josh Hart in the game and RJ in the game, and he didn't really want to put Quentin Grimes in there, which for me was a little bit interesting. But overall, I think it was a great competition between the two. But unfortunately, Spoelstra just did a little bit of a better outing here for this series. But I do think one of the bigger elements for Miami is that their role players really came out and overperformed, if you would to say, during this series. Because when you go into it, when you look at Vincent, Strauss, and all these guys, Martin and Robinson, who are 3-point shooting dominant players, usually they're not there, and Jimmy Butler's a prominent guy, but he used all these guys to their advantage, and that's the reason why they're moving on and we're not. But back to really, what you were talking about Jalen Brunson and how other players see his performance in not only the playoffs but in the regular season, and that could improve their play. Absolutely agree with you on that take. I think his performance in the series against Miami, against Cleveland, and the entire regular season really can motivate the other players to improve. But I also wanted to add to that was, I mean, he's showing out in Game 6, for example. He's shooting better than the entire rest of the Knicks team. I mean, he's shooting better percentage, and I think at the end of the game, he had more field goals than the rest of the team combined. I think the Knicks had, I'm guessing here, but he had like 14 to 15. He had 14 field goals, and the Knicks had like 13. So he scored more field goals than the whole Knicks team. But for me, when you're talking about that's going to motivate the other Knicks to improve, how can they not get motivated by his performance in Game 6 to improve in game, right? If you kind of catch what I'm going with.
Oh,
Um,
100%.
Because like when you see this guy going nuts, like he's going crazy. Obviously, he's going to be prominent on the ball. He's going to get a lot more shots if he's cooking. You got to look for him to be open and stuff like that. But like I talked about before, all you really need is an okay performance from either RJ Barrett, anyone. It doesn't matter if it's Randall, RJ Barrett, it doesn't matter. You need just a little bit mild performance from these other guys. And if I'm seeing that from Jalen Brunson, I'm going to try my hardest to get a couple buckets for him. But unfortunately, that's not the case. But I do agree that in the offseason, Tibbs is not going to leave. They're not, I doubt they'll trade Randall, and we'll most likely have the same team that we have right now. But like you said, I don't know if they're going to be able to re-sign all the young players again. But I'm hoping that we can kind of still keep the same team that we have, and then either upgrade that or just rock with the same team and see what we can do in the future. But overall, unfortunately, the way things happened are in the favor of the Knicks. But I just think that point was valid, and just seeing Jalen Brunson is great news if you're a Knicks fan. But I'll throw it back to you here.
But like you said, I definitely want to piggyback off what you said. I think you made a great point about the bench and about like how you know our team, it was just a lot more of a struggle for our bench. What was once a strength for us, it was a strength for us all season, bro. Like all season, like we could depend on our bench to kind of keep us in games, and even like once Brunson or Randall or RJ was out, that bench, like between Quickly and Hart, they would just continue to trend. They would continue to keep the offense flowing and things just continuing to flow. And once we got into the postseason, it was a whole nother story. It was just, but like kind of like you said, as far as like the Heat players, Martin, you got Martin. I'm not sure how much of postseason experience he has beyond this year. Um, but Martin, Duncan Robinson, I think Duncan Robinson was with the team when they went to the championship that 1 year. I think he was. I'm not sure. Kyle Lowry, he's a champion. He's won before. Who else? What's the other? Oh, Strus. I'm not
Strus,
really sure about Strus either. Like I'm as
Vincent.
far as his postseason experience, but it's a lot of veterans. I'm just making that point to say it's like they got a lot more veteran. They just you could tell like compared to because you remember, I don't know if you remember, but a lot like when we beat the Cavaliers, they were saying that like we had a lot more experience as a team. And in the Cleveland Cavaliers were just like between Evan Mobley, JaVale McGee. I mean not JaVale McGee. I'm sorry. What's his name? Oh Lord. What's
Jared
that?
Allen.
Jared Allen. Right. Jared Allen and those other players. They didn't have that experience of being in the postseason and being in these high stakes situations and high intensity. So I think it's the same. The only player that's really been in those high stakes situations is the guy who showed up last night, Jalen Brunson. You know what I'm saying? He just coming off going to the Western Conference Finals the year before, and losing. But hey, that's still going to the Western Conference Finals, and he took that team there damn near by itself again because Luka was out at that point in time. So Jalen Brunson has a proven track record of this. But on the other hand, we don't really have no one else on our team with a truly proven record of success. RJ Barrett, but he added to that in a positive way this past postseason though, so I'll give that to him. But Julius Randle continues to struggle in the postseason. Like his numbers, I don't even want to pull his numbers up, but that's for another day. But his offense, his numbers in the postseason are not good. Like so, and then like I don't really got to speak on all of our other young players. They just don't have that experience. And I think that was the difference for us. And I think it was just kind of like what we did to Cleveland, the Heat did to us, just not having that experience of, knowing what to do in those situations or just not being ready for that moment, not being ready for those key moments. And you could tell like between Kyle Lowry, between Martin, Duncan Robinson, Strus, they was all ready for the moment. They wasn't scared of us. Bam, I can't forget Bam. Bam, and that's the thing that was on my mind too. Is like Julius Randle ended up him and Bam play the same position if I'm not mistaken, right? They both play power forward, or he
I
plays
think
center.
Bam might be a center
Okay, okay. Well, even still,
because Mitchell Robinson was on him a ton of times. I think he was the center.
okay.
And to be fair, Mitchell Robinson got torched by Bam for most of the season, and specifically Game 6, he got destroyed.
And yeah, I was gonna
But
say though, I didn't mean to cut you off, but yeah, I was gonna
nope.
say Julius Randle, yeah, he was getting torched too, and I was just thinking in my head because I feel like Bam wasn't an All Star he wasn't an All Star this year,
Mm-mm.
right? So I feel like Bam was like in his head thinking like, oh yeah, they gave him they gave that man over there Julius Randle All Star, and they didn't give it to me. Let me show y'all. Let me show y'all who the real All Star is. Let me show y'all who, because I feel like Bam just had a great two way series against us. Every game, he was making an impact, whether it was offensive or defensive. Like it was always an impact on the game, and I think he just showed like how much better he can be than Julius Randle at times. And I think this should be nothing but motivation to Julius Randle. He should be,
Hope
you know,
so.
yeah, he definitely should be a lot more motivated by this, and um, we'll see. But yeah, I thought back.
Yeah, so just a quick throw up with Bam. Yeah, Bam played. I think he played really good throughout this series. And when you look at Bam, like Jordan was talking about, he's trying to he's guard depending on who's guarding him, regardless whether it's Mitchell Robinson or Julius Randle, he's kind of got that chip on his shoulder. Like you gave Julius Randle this All Star third NBA team, whatever Julius Randle got. He's got that chip on his shoulder, so he's showing the Heat that he's got heart, he's got a hustle, he's got more pep in the step. And Julius Randle over here doesn't really have that. So you can see the night and day comparison when you have Bam Adebayo, who is getting the ball where he needs to get the ball, and he's shooting where he needs to shoot, and he's going to the hole when he needs to go to the hole. I think personally he played outstanding, but overall, this was a tough game for the Knicks, series for the Knicks. Like you were talking about when they played Cleveland, Cleveland is the younger team compared to the Knicks. We have, people who have experienced the playoffs, specifically Jalen Brunson, who went to the Western Conference Finals last year. And, Julius Randle's been in the playoffs once, RJ's been in the playoffs once. And Cleveland really only had Donovan Mitchell, who has been in the playoffs countless times for the Utah Jazz. And then Garland, I think, was his first outing. Jared Allen, first outing. So they're pretty young, and the Knicks found a way to beat them pretty easily. But then when they found Miami, now we're talking about there's a lot of people who have playoff experience. The coach has been in the playoffs like every year. Well, not every year, but like it feels like every
Yeah,
year.
yeah,
He's coached like amazing players. And he's got one of the best players in the entire league, and his role players absolutely showed out for him, and they just got the edge on the Knicks from the start in Game 1, and the Knicks really couldn't do anything in regards to getting back. I mean, they won Game 2, won Game 5, but really at the end of the day, once Game 3 and 4 kind of came around, as a Knicks fan, you kind of knew what was going on. But I kind of wanted to mention Mitchell Robinson because we were talking about the Cavs series, and you look at both of these series. I think Mitchell Robinson had a good year in regards to the regular season, and the Cleveland series, he played absolutely extreme. I mean, he was absolutely phenomenal. Specifically in Game 5, which, like we talked about, I believe in our first show, which in my opinion was his best game of his entire career, and we were looking for him to do that in the Miami series. And for the most part, Miami series, he really didn't do all that great. He's a catalyst for giving us the offensive rebounds. And for the most part, when you look towards the ending of this series, Miami kind of really just took him out of the game, and they were figuring out how to get the offensive boards, defensive boards, and just really kind of silence the Knicks. So unfortunately, I think Mitchell Robinson, even though he had a good year, great series in Cleveland, he kind of had a whole lot of nothing to offer for the Miami series. But yeah, that's pretty much what I wanted to get to in regards to Mitchell Robinson. But as the season comes through, I do want to talk about Randall a little bit before I throw it back to you. Randall, even though he had a great season, me and Jordan are probably the biggest Julius Randle criticism crew you can find.
Sure.
We went to MSG last year, and every time someone had a Randle jersey, Jordan had to talk to him and give him some static about them wearing the Randle jersey. But this guy is the biggest roller coaster ride you could ever see. He's either absolutely phenomenal or he's absolutely garbage. So I mean, you don't know what you're going to get with Julius Randle. And for the regular season, we thought we were going to get a good version of Julius Randle going into the playoffs. Yet we have been tricked two times in a row where he played in the Atlanta series, which he was absolutely terrible. He was all right in the Cleveland series, but really, overall, the Miami series, when he needed to step up big time, he really only had one good game and maybe another one with game 2 and 3. But overall, the performance in game 3, game 4, and game 6 were absolutely horrendous, not acceptable at all. And so, as a Knicks fan, people are quick to the jury's out on Julius Randle. They want him gone, but I don't think he's going to be gone. But I just personally, I'm rooting for the guy, but it's so hard to root for someone like Julius Randle when he's proven something in the regular season and the playoff star, and he just completely ditches what he does in the regular season and just doesn't do anything. So
It's
it's
not.
go
I
ahead.
don't mean to. I don't mean to cut you off,
No, you're
but
good.
it's not just that. It's just. It's also. It would be one thing. You see, man, like we said, like I just said before, like that's why Quickly is such a beloved figure within the
Right.
Knicks and within Nick Land. You know what I'm saying? Because he has bad games. He does things. He turns the ball over. He does anything else that Julius Randle does. But the one thing you always gonna get is defense. You always gonna get defense.
Right.
And on top of that, for Julius Randle to be in such a position that he's in, as far as like being a All NBA player or All Star, having these credentials and things like that, top pick, just being the centerpiece of the offense, all of these things, I expect for him to be more professional with how he carries himself. It's a lot of times he got technicals. A lot of times he was going at refs because they didn't say, and I understand a lot of great players do it, but at the same time, it feels like it's always different for him because it always leads to because like within his play, how he plays and different things like that, you could tell on defense if he's not making shots, then his defense is gonna go with it.
Mm-hmm.
If he is making shots, he's trying to he all the effort is there on defense. So it's like
He's a game flow type of player. If he's having
right,
a
yeah.
bad game, he's going to be playing bad on defense, bad on offense. He's not doing good on offense. He's not going to do good on defense.
But I'm saying, yeah, to be in that position and to be the centerpiece of a team, you can't be so inconsistent like that. You really can't be. You know what I'm saying? It don't matter who you is. Look at Luka Doncic. You know what I'm saying? He's a great offensive player, one of the best offensive players, if not the best offensive player, arguably in the league. But he still has a 1-0, and that's because on defense he doesn't play good
Right.
defense. And on top of that,
Complains every
he
single time
he
he goes in the
right he
hole.
complains to the refs all the time. Exactly. So it's like it doesn't matter. It's in order to be a great player, you have to be great all the way around. You know what I'm saying? And I think that with Julius Randle, he's shown that time and time again. Even from like the press conference when he said, "Oh, I think they wanted. I think they wanted it
Yeah.
more than us."
Oh my
Okay, right.
God.
So you said you think they wanted more than you, right? And you showing that too on the court. So it's like, damn, do you care about the team or do you care about you know what I'm saying, how you playing at this point? You know what I'm saying? So it's like you saying this out your mouth and then later on after in
Right.
the game when it's time for you to like prove people wrong and to like prove the doubters wrong, you just playing right into the narrative. You just adding fuel to the fire because you're not giving that effort. You're not even giving a full effort that you should be giving. You know what I'm saying? And I understand that being the centerpiece. I really at this point I'm not gonna say I understand. It's no excuse because I saw Jalen Brunson play 48 minutes a couple nights ago, and he was playing great on defense. He was trying hard on
Doing
defense and
everything.
offense. play in and
Couldn't
play
even
out.
take. He couldn't even take 3 minutes in Game 6. He couldn't sit down to drink a sip of water, and then he had to get back
Right?
in. Like
Exactly.
help him. What are you doing?
Nah, yeah, bro. I feel you, bro. I feel like that's what I'm telling you, man. Like that's like you said, bro. It's so hard to not be critical of him at times.
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's hard not to like so um that's kind of like how I feel about that. It's just like you got to be more professional and you got to carry yourself, better. I don't even know if I wanted to check and see if he did a press conference last night because a lot of times too. That's another thing I don't like. Like
And he
he'll have a
misses.
bad
Yeah.
game and then he'll
I'll
not
try
have
to
a press
find it.
conference. I'm
I don't
sorry.
know if he did, but I'll try to see.
Yeah, yeah.
I think
Just
probably not if he lost.
just curious. It's like, and this is like the game where we do expect you to talk, especially having a shitty game like that. You know what I'm saying? I
Right.
expect you to let us know, yeah, I fucked up. I didn't do good. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Just be honest about it and own up to it. Because guess what? Jalen Brunson, whether he have a great game, a good game, a terrible game, I'm always going to see Jalen Brunson. Jalen Brunson's going to say, "Oh yeah, he's going to take accountability." Even in a great game, even when I don't see him have great games, like 20 points, or just have good games overall. Still be honest about it. Like I
Right.
just didn't
Yeah.
do well. I
Back
got to
to
do better.
I don't. I only see RJ and Jalen Brunson for a post game conference. I don't think he had
And
one.
and and yeah, and that's and that's why another reason why even though RJ gets a lot of flack, and I know him being a 22-year-old, you could tell just how mature he really is. Like because it doesn't, because I would expect some of this from him of like, I not want to talk to the media, or,
Right.
skipping up, but Randall, you almost 30 years old, bro. You a grown man. Like
Yeah.
it's no
Yeah.
excuse, man.
So
It's no
yeah.
excuse. It's really not. But like I said, RJ was 1 for 10 last night, but guess what? He
He
showed up
still
for the
showed
press
up.
conference. He still showed up to talk and own up to his mistakes and stuff like that. So, but and then I just wanted to talk about Mitch just briefly because that's the craziest thing about it is like Mitch was like the centerpiece of last series of the series against the Cavs. Like you were saying, like every game he was just you could tell he was jumping off the screen because you could just see like every rebound he's getting every rebound or he's just dominating on defense. He's just doing so many things for us. But this I might have to say it, but Isaiah Hartenstein probably outplayed him this series against Miami. And I don't know. I just think with Mitch, it was just too. I think he was honestly. I truly think he was in a difficult position having to guard Bam. And I think that was more of, I understand him needing him like because he's a great rim protector and we need that, but I think, if we had somebody like Julius Randle who was able to play better defense and be able because I think he would have been able to match up a lot better with Bam. And I think that this might have been a series where we wouldn't have so much of Mitch and we would have just had a little more. But, unfortunately, Julius isn't a defender. that he isn't a good enough defender to guard Bam on a regular basis. And I guess that we'll obviously, Thibs didn't think so either. So that's why he continued to keep Mitch in there. And it's not like I don't think we needed him for rebounds, but it just seemed like when he's not getting those offensive rebounds, he's kind of like neutralized. It's not like he's not really making much of an impact, and you could tell like it really wasn't. He wasn't really. But I have to give credit to Hartenstein. He was getting a lot of rebounds. He wasn't scoring much, but he did play some pretty good defense, and he did his job when he was in there. So. Yeah, man. I don't know. I throw it back to you.
All right. Yeah, so I wanted to just give my thoughts on the Julius Randle mindset. For me, when you look at sports, regardless whether you're playing basketball, football, hockey, don't matter. I think the mindset is one of the biggest things that you need to have in order to be a player that can stay consistent and give your team the fuel they need to perform. And so when you're Julius Randle being the second best player on the New York Knicks, you're considered a leader. So you have to lead by example. So I'm going to use Jalen Brunson really quick as a perfect example of how you should act as the leader. He's not too extreme to where like Kobe Bryant is, even though I like Kobe Bryant's mindset. When Kobe Bryant played, he was all about winning. I want to win. That's all I care about is winning, winning, winning. So he constructed his mindset and the way he went about his attitude on the court, off the court, all about winning, and I'm going to do whatever it takes to win. And to where Jalen Brunson is still got that winning mindset, but he does it more as a respectable leader. And so every time, win or lose, regardless whether he gets 41 points, 32 points, or no points, he's still going on the podium and saying, hey, we need to do better. I need to do better, and we got to go play the next game, right? Even after like a 41-point game where he's going nuts, he's still like, yeah, I got to do better. And to where Julius Randle, like you talked about in it before, and you even made a short about it, where he's talking about, I think the Heat want it more. As a Knicks fan and anyone that's watching it, that's the worst response that you can give. I mean, I don't think you could have gave a worse response. Maybe they want it more. Are you playing for the Heat? Do you want the Heat to win? I don't get it. It's like, if you played NBA 2K my career, you have the options to pick which reply you have at the end of the and in the post game show,
yeah.
and sometimes you get the bad reply, and then the fans are like booing on the top corner. That's a reply where you get the boo. I mean, really, that's a terrible, terrible reply. I mean, awful. And then again, like we were talking about before, he's a flow game player. Meaning, if he's not shooting the ball well, he's going to play defense poorly. So if he's shooting well, he's going to play defense well. So when he only has game 2 and 5 to show for, and all the other games are stinkers because he can't get a shot going, that just explains how well of this mindset needs to be constructed. Because again, like you were talking about, Jordan, he every time something doesn't go his way, he's got body language that just shows that he's either complaining about certain things. If a call doesn't go his way, he's talking to the ref the whole time, and he lacks a hustle when things aren't going his way. And this is not the attitude that the New York Knicks need when they're trying to beat a team that is contending for the NBA title. And when you have Jalen Brunson, who is absolutely trying to do whatever it takes to win, and he's got Julius Randle in the postgame conference doing that, and being lazy on defense, and taking terrible shots, it's a really bad look for him. But overall, it's even though we are going to be critical on Julius Randle, he's still wearing blue and orange, so we still want him to succeed. And Knick fans are the quickest of all fans in sports to throw you out in the wilderness alone and throw tomatoes at you instantly. If you can have 50 points one game, and if you score 0 the next game, we love you one night and then we hate you the other night. So I think some of these Knicks fans really kind of need to look into the realistic lens, but there's a lot to complain about him, and that's really what I wanted to get off my chest. Because again, like I said before, me and Jordan have been on this roller coaster ride with Randall. We don't know if he's going to be sensational or he's going to be garbage. So I think he's still going to be on this team next year, but I just hope that if they make the playoffs next year, which they should, because now they have superstar Jalen Brunson, he's just got to show up and he's got to change his attitude. Because with this attitude, it's going to prevent the Knicks from getting to that Eastern Conference Finals, getting over the hump against Miami. And like Jordan was talking about in the beginning of the show, you have no Giannis. So realistically, the Knicks should have really played Giannis in the Bucks, because the Bucks blew it. But realistically, you could have been playing Giannis, who is the best player in the league, or you could have been playing some other team like Boston or Philadelphia. This could have been way worse. Obviously, they did still lose against Miami, but going into the series, everyone's like, "Ooh, Miami, we got a shot at being Miami, right?" Correct me if I'm wrong, but most Knicks fans were like, "Oh, Miami, we got a shot." But if we're playing Milwaukee, we're probably not winning this at all. And so with Julius Randle having that mindset against the Heat, and we're not beating the Heat when he has that mindset, what do you think is going to happen if we play teams like Boston in a series, Philadelphia in a series, or like Milwaukee with the series when Julius Randle is acting the way that he acted in basically the entire time he's been a Knick. So I think he really needs to. I personally think he just needs to regain focus on what he needs to do as the Knicks' second best player as of now. Because before he was the best player, now he's the second best player. He's the All-Star, third overall NBA team, whatever. He really needs to just stay focused and do what the Knicks need to do to win. And unfortunately, in this Miami series, he didn't do it. So I'll throw it back to you because I just went
Yeah,
on a
man.
tangent.
Staying on Randall. Staying on
Oh
Randall.
yeah.
Back to him. I was gonna say, man, I think what I was gonna say, I think him getting that all NBA and him having these things, him going to, the All-Star game and stuff, I think that's only gonna hurt. It's, in a way, it's a blessing and a curse because basically, now that's gonna get held over his head. Now it's like you were all this, you did all this, and now it's like you got these credentials, but now when it comes to big money time, you're not there. So now, yeah. So, but yeah, man. I was just gonna say, I feel like like I said, it's just all that's always going to be held over his head until next year where he can really show it, show what he can do. But I want to go back to what you said at the top when you was like Kobe, he was so obsessed with winning, and obviously him and Brunson are different in those aspects. But I think this has been going on since last year, man, where I guess I like how Thibs has, coached Randall in certain aspects where he just continues to trust him no matter what, whether he has a bad game, good game, it's one thing I definitely give Thibs credit for. Seems like he's very like, he's going to live or die with Randall. He continues to. And, for the most part this season, he's lived with him, especially coming off the season before where it was terrible, and then he came back this year with Brunson and it kind of picked up where he left off in 2021. So I would just say, that was a good. I guess that's good, but I think at the same time, one thing you could always say about Kobe that you can't say about Jalen Brunson um or Thibs as like being on a team is just like holding players accountable. Like Kobe's gonna hold you accountable.
Yeah,
You're
Brunson,
not playing, and I think that's what Randall needs. He needs somebody that's truly gonna hold him accountable for for like the bozo plays he makes or missing defense or like missing defensive assignments and stuff like that. Because it's not been happening with Thibs. And like we said, Jalen Brunson is more of a lead by example type of player. He's not a he's a lead by example type of leader. You know what I'm saying? He's not going to be that. He's not that type of leader that's going to get in your face and tell you like, yo, what's up? We got it. You got it. But I think that's what Randall needs. He needs somebody like that. Whether it be a coach or a player or a vet or somebody who can just get in his ear and let him know like, hey man, you got to play some defense. You got to you can't be missing those assignments or just because he's a a great player just because he has a like elevated stature on the team because he's like we said he has these credentials. He's an All NBA player and then also he's an All Star. That doesn't make him exempt from accountability. He still needs to be held accountable just like any other player. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's really what's needed. And then just thinking back to the Heat, for instance, Jimmy's older, so like he's a vet. Randall's a vet too, but like he has other veteran players around him who can talk to him and get in his ear, like which Randall does too. He has you got Rose on the bench,
yeah,
you
but he
got
don't play
Fournier,
though.
but yeah, I'm just saying like
Yeah,
just
like because
people that
like
can get in your ear.
like Kyle Lowry, like he's even though I have my personal preferences on Kyle Lowry, if he sees someone playing the way that he doesn't necessarily approve, for example, Kyle Lowry, he's gonna go up to you and say you need to do better. So if Jimmy Butler is
Exactly.
not performing, you're gonna get Kyle Lowry that's going, what are you doing? You got to play better. To where
Right.
Derrick Rose, I agree he's a veteran, but Derrick Rose is not really known to go up to people and be like, you got to do better. He's another Jalen Brunson kind of lead by example. I play, and if you don't, you're performing the way that you're performing, but I'm not going to tell you anything because I'm
What's
just
his
gonna
name is a
keep doing
perfect
my thing,
example.
and you just gotta pick up. You got to pick up what I'm putting down, and then I'm not going to do something from there.
I
And
was going.
again, before I give it back to you, what Brunson does is that he's a great leader, but he doesn't put people accountable, like you were talking about. If he's getting in Julius Randle's face, you need to do this, you need to perform, you need to help me out, and he changes the way that he goes, then the Knicks win Game 6, maybe beat the Heat in 7. But he's just doing everything that he can personally and waiting for other people to join the party, and they're never joined the party, and we're out of the we're done for the year.
I,
So, and again, like you said, Kobe Bryant, if he's got 41 and Pau Gasol or whoever it may be is not pulling their weight, he's going up to your face and saying, "You need to pull your weight. We're going to win this game. So you need to get this rebound. You need to get this put back. You need to do
he is
something." And to where Jalen Brunson, he's kind of just, I'm going to get 41 points. Please help me. And so I think
right.
that should improve. But I also think, too, what I wanted to mention before I give it back and so you can complete your point, um, I feel like if someone was to get into Randall's face, because we were talking about he's the all-star, he's the third NBA all-team, he's got the credentials. So if someone gets into his face and say, like Jalen Brunson is like, you got to pull through, and he's like, well, you're not an all-star, you're not a third overall NBA team member or whatever it is. So why are you telling me this? I got these credentials, you don't. I feel like that's the way he would kind of take it in, but that's just me personally, because there's the things like we were talking about. He's got the reaction to the post game with the language that he's using. It's just I don't feel as if he would take the criticism as lightly as we would say. But I'll let
I
you
would.
finish your point.
I was gonna say, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if he did respond like that. If he was like, just like you said, was like he got defensive instead of actually taking the criticism.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Instead of being taking the criticism constructively, he uses it as a negative and turns it into something he needs to be defensive about. But look at, like I was just gonna say, I was just gonna bring up. Look at Draymond. Look at that team that they had when KD came over there, and I don't know if you remember, but him and KD started arguing over a play because I forgot. I feel like he didn't like what KD did, or he expected KD to pass to him, or it was some type of expectation that he had. He didn't have no problem like addressing that straight with KD. And KD's a champion. KD is way over Randall. You know what I'm saying? So it's just all to say. It's like and like I said, KD is above Draymond as a player, but it's you just still need those type of
Right.
guys who
And that's
don't
why the
care.
Warriors have won championship 3 times, and the Knicks have yet to, second round exits. The farthest they've gone from us being fans of the Knicks. But I'll let you continue.
That's what I was going to say. You have to be that. You have to have somebody that doesn't care about
Right.
what about people's feelings or how they're gonna feel or how they're gonna take it. You just got to be able to have somebody who's ready to just go to battle and say like and call somebody out if they're not doing something right. Because I feel like as teammates, and like you said, like Jalen Brunson isn't that guy, and that's okay. That's fine. He does what the hell he needs to do. So
Right. Yeah. I
I would
mean,
never be mad at him for how he leads our team because I think he does a great
oh,
job of that.
amazing. He's a great
But
mindset. Awesome.
you have to have one of those. You have to have somebody like that though. We have to get somebody in here like that who isn't afraid of hurting people's feelings. You
Right.
know what I'm saying? So that way it's like hopefully it lights a fire under him and helps him to do better in the game. In game, like you said, like hopefully he would have made those adjustments in game or and try to do things differently
Right.
as opposed to kind of doing the same thing and having the same result. So that's just my main thing with that man. I just feel like this off season I think we have a lot of young talent, but I feel like us having some veterans who can come off the bench and actually produce. Not D Rose or not Fournier. Because they liabilities on defense. We need good vets who are going to be good players on a two-way basis who can
Right.
actually also light fires under our star players at times when they need it, or to be able to talk to our younger players like Grimes or Quickly, or just to get in their ear and help them. Because just think about that. They did have that. Like I said, they had that in Rose. Because I'm sure Rose or Fournier in their ear talking to them while they're on the bench and just trying to give them pointers. But it's like I don't know. We need more championship tested vets who who have more experience than like Rose or Fournier, and can contribute to our team, not just being on the bench, just being cheerleaders, but like also on the court. Because I think if we, that man, that's why I keep going. I don't want to go off on a tangent, but like think of what if we had Melo coming off the bench? Just he would have, just coming off the bench, he would have been hitting some threes. He would have
Oh,
been
you
doing
would,
something.
yeah.
You
I
know what I'm
mean,
saying? I
I'm
ain't gonna
down
say
for
he would
that
have
because
been.
I love Melo, but
I'm
I
not
don't
gonna say
know.
he would have won us a series by himself, or he would have been like, But I'm just saying he would have provided some type of veteran presence that we needed. It
Yeah.
was clear we needed that.
But to piggyback off of that, I was gonna mention Melo before and talking about he's kind of in the same boat. Brunson has become Melo. Correct me if I'm wrong, but that's Melo back then. That's what he did every night. He was scoring 40 points, getting all these buckets, and his supporting cast nowhere to be seen. So is this gonna be is Jalen Brunson gonna be another Melo, Patrick Ewing? Where he has to carry the entire team on his back, and he's got see. I was listening to Nick Fan TV. He was saying is Brunson going to be the next Ewing? He's got ice packs on his knees, like all. It's like it's crazy. Is
Right,
this
right.
really going to be happening? Because he needs help. And again, like with Melo, talking about Melo, I would have loved to have him on the bench coming out. He makes a couple of threes. Melo's my favorite basketball player ever. Of course, I want him to be on with a Knick jersey again. But the thing with Melo is you were talking about getting a player that is a veteran that will keep players accountable. So if he's coming off the bench and igniting the bench players to perform better, but also giving the starters that intake to where they can improve them by being on the bench. That's what the Knicks need. So if they got Melo, sure you can get pointers to score the ball, but Melo was all right on defense. But Melo was also kind of in the realm. I'm not going to say he's exactly like Jalen Brunson, but Melo, he's got moments where he went into people's face like, "What are you doing?" But for the most time, I don't remember Melo kind of keeping everyone accountable. He's just out there playing basketball. So I think having Melo be that veteran presence in regards to what you were claiming, I think I would want someone else that can keep those players accountable when they see them not performing. Because like I talked about Kyle Lowry, even though Kyle Lowry didn't really torch the Knicks, he had really significant plays that made the Heat beat the Knicks. Kyle Lowry's a player to me personally that I personally dislike, but I got to give credit where credit is due. He had a lot of great important threes and a lot of great important shots against the Knicks to really took the Heat into the Eastern Conference Finals this year. But overall, he's that presence that we're talking about. He's on the bench, he's igniting the bench, and he's also giving the starters that insight when they sit down for the timeouts. He's telling Jimmy Butler, you can do this a little bit better to get your shot off, or you can do this a little bit better because he's a point guard. He sees everything, and so that's what the Knicks kind of need, like we were talking about. And so, even though I like Melo, I don't know if that would be the case because
But
I don't.
see,
He's a little bit too on the old side too. I mean, and when you're talking about veteran, he's a veteran. Again, I'm not knocking Melo. Love Melo. He can still play basketball. I don't understand why he should be on the team right now. And if LeBron's going nuts, he can go nuts. But yeah, I just think I totally agree with you. They need to find that bench veteran because Tibb loves veterans, but they can't get too much because we've seen it time and time again where they have Alec Burks, Nerlens Noel, Taj Gibson, and Tibbs falls in love with them. So we could have a veteran that has that mindset, but don't go crazy. So I'll throw it back to
but
you.
guess what though?
What?
The thing is, the difference between you right. Jalen Brunson it does definitely feel like Jalen Brunson is like Melo. This definitely feels like that. But really, it shouldn't. You know what I'm saying? Especially because in all honesty, this is a different situation that Jalen Brunson in
Oh, it
compared to
is a
Melo.
different situation, but it feels like it. That's
No,
what
no,
I was.
no. I know, but I'm just saying it's like it's more talent on this team that we got right now
Oh yeah.
than Melo had back then. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
Jr.
So it's
Melo
like I don't
Melo
know. That's
had
it. That's
J.R. Smith. That's it, really. Like, list me. His point guard was Raymond Felton. Raymond Felton was Melo's point guard.
give
So
I
I'm
was
not
gonna say
talking
give.
Raymond Felton. He's a great player. I love Raymond Felton. But, like, yeah, what I agree with you. Jalen Brunson has the role players he needs to succeed, and yet they're nowhere to be seen in Game 6. So I'll let you continue.
I was gonna now you good, man. I was just gonna say, man, give Melo another all NBA player to play
Right.
alongside. Whatever that was
If he
supposed to
had
be.
if he had Randall, they're winning that. They're winning the championship. If he had Randall again when he played good, because like if he had a Randall style player, right? Because Jalen Brunson, he's the best player on the Knicks, and he's performing every game. If he had another player that was also consistent with him and was also an all-star caliber, so on and so forth, the Knicks are moving on. Period.
and,
Like
and,
it's
and
it's
that's and
it's a
that's
done
kind
deal.
of the,
But that's the problem. We expected Julius Randle and R.J. Barrett to perform, yet they didn't perform when they needed to
yeah.
perform, and that's why we're here, and that's why we're upset. But yeah, I think if you're comparing, it is not the same thing. But Jalen Brunson kind of feels like what Melo did
Oh
back
no,
when he
yeah,
was
I
there.
see what you're saying. I
Yeah,
see what you're saying. It's just sad, like I just said, it's just sad that like we said, it's just I wouldn't say sad, but just disappointing because you know, um, I expected Randall to play a lot better. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
I expected I just expected a lot more from him, especially because like we said, it was Atlanta, and Atlanta they had the formula against him in that series. They knew it was just like get the ball, they get the ball out of Randall's hands, make everything hard for Randall, and let everybody else beat us,
right.
and that worked perfectly. But this year is a whole nother story. You got Jalen Brunson, you got a whole nother person that's kind of taking the pressure off you. You know what I'm saying? That's giving you more time to, taking the pressure off you, taking the eyes of everyone always on you. Even though now everybody kind of got their eyes on you now because you had such a bad series, but
Terrible
but
performance.
that's what I was expecting things to be easier for him. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because of us having off the strength of us having Brunson, because it's like Brunson gonna open things up. But
Yeah.
that's another thing I wanted to get into is like the Heat had 25 assists, and they've been having a lot of assists this whole series. The production has been a lot spread out. I mean,
Yeah.
if you look at the games that Jimmy's had, Jimmy hasn't really had
Yeah.
great
Playoff Jimmy
over the
didn't
top
show up.
game. Yeah, he hasn't been dominating. He's been like even yesterday he didn't dominate. He was like what 9 for 22, and he had
Mm-hmm.
24 points.
Yep.
Like a lot of his points was on the free throw line. You know what I'm saying? So it's not like he was dominating us. Bam had a great game. I'll give that to Bam, but it wasn't. So I'm just saying it's just like everybody. Like I said, you see Bam had a great game. Then you have production from Strus, and you have Kyle Lowry chipping in. You have Gabe Vincent hitting a
Right.
couple shots. You have Duncan Robinson hitting a couple threes. So it's like that was kind of the toughest thing for us. It's like we living or dying by these main three players,
Yep.
and we not letting, and that kind of brings me back to Thibs, where it's like, what's up with the offense? It's all I know it can't be just Jalen Brunson or die. Like it has to be like more. It has to be more cohesiveness. It has to be
Right.
more fluidness. It has to be. I don't know. We just need more
Move.
production from everyone.
They got to move around. They're just like standing there, getting to the double team, and then they just try to throw it across court. I mean, but I agree with everything you said. Their role players showed up, Miami, and when you look at Jimmy Butler, like we're talking about, playoff Jimmy didn't really show up. He was good throughout the series. He did good enough to win the series for the Heat, and his supporting cast helped him out. So where Jalen Brunson, his supporting cast didn't help him out, and so that's the deal breaker between the series and who came up on top. You have helpers for Jimmy, and Jalen Brunson, the only guy doing anything for the Knicks, and no one's helping him out. And then you talked a little bit about Tibbs' coaching. The way that his offense was constructed was they were playing a lot of high core offense to where they found themselves doubled instantly, or giving the ball to Randall and he's doubled and he's getting pressed too hard and then he loses the ball and turnover and stuff like that, which is really obnoxious and annoying. But they love to double team Jimmy Butler, and they double teamed him all game long last night, and every time he was in the double team, he's finding Struce, Martin, all these guys wide open for three, and they go in. Why are we double teaming Jimmy Butler? Like we were talking about earlier in the show, you got Quentin Grimes, who is defending Jimmy Butler one on one. He's doing a great job defending him one on one. Yet you bring the double team to him every single time, and he's got wide open people. That's not good defense. That's not a good defensive scheme. You're so worried about Jimmy Butler. That's what Spoelstra wants, and that's what Jimmy Butler wants. Like you're talking about, Jimmy Butler as a player knows whatever he needs to do to win the game, he's going to do. If he needs to score 56 points, he's going to score 56 points. If he needs to pass it to the open man like Strauss, Martin, all that stuff, he's going to pass it to the open man, and he's trying to get the good pass so that the ball can go in the hoop. And that's what he was doing every time he was double teamed. When he was double teamed, find the open guy, pass it to the open guy, and then most of the time they knocked it down. And you were talking about the assists. Of course, they had way more assists than the Knicks because he double teaming Jimmy Butler. There's going to be a guy open, and he's finding the guy that's open, and then these assists rack up. And the high core offense by the Knicks, they had no spacing, they couldn't move, and they just relied on Jalen Brunson to do everything, and he had to do all this footwork and all this stuff to get anything to go, and he couldn't really get the ball to go around when they're on offense. So I think that was really the key problems when you talk about the coaching that Tibbs was coming up, specifically in Game 6, but for the most part in the entire series here. But yeah, again, I think just Miami played into Tibbs's cards, and they just blew it up into proportion, threw it right into his face, and it was unfortunate to watch as a Knicks fan. But yeah, I just think kudos to the Heat. I mean, really, at the end of the day.
For sure.
But I'll give it back to you.
Like I said, yeah, definitely hats off to them, man. They very well run franchise. I'm not gonna sit here and say I want them to win because I definitely got a sour taste in my mouth.
I hate the Heat. I don't care.
Right. But I definitely got to respect. I definitely respect them, and I think it's definitely about that time to give them their respect that they deserve.
Oh yeah.
I don't think they not playing like they haven't played like an 8 seed since they won that play-in and they've been inserted into the playoff. They've been playing well above where they played this whole regular season and different things like that. But yeah, man, just going back to the Thibs, I just think it's like we have to do a lot better. He has to do a lot better as finding a different scheme. And I think it should be more than just us depending on, I know how tough it must be just having to defend. I mean, having to like ISO almost every possession. It's like, that's why I really have my hats off to Jalen Brunson. It's like all his points are hard points. It's not like he getting any wide open shots. Like everything he getting, he creating for himself. So it's like that's tough. You have to really tip your cap to him. And that's it just shows like players like Julius Randle and RJ. That's not something that they can continually do on a regular basis as well as Jalen Brunson can. And that's another reason why I was saying it's like, a couple times, I think for like the couple of points that Julius Randle did have, he had like one assist down low. Like if he was able to get more, shots created for him for easier possessions, like in the paint or things like that, I think that would be a lot more better for him. But I just think, we have to figure out how to scheme better where it's like it's not just so much ISO in all the time, and it's more equal. It's more of an equal type of offense where everybody getting an opportunity to go to the rim or being able to just do something with the ball. That way, people feel more involved, and because that's really what it felt like for me with the Heat, where it's like everybody felt involved, and like every time I was watching the game, I'm like, who gonna make the shot this time? It's like every
time they shot it, you're like, that's going in.
As opposed to, when we came down on the floor, it's like, oh, come on, Jalen. Let's see what you can do. Like, you gonna save us again? Like, every time. So, yeah, man, we got to figure something out with that. But yeah, I guess we get, unless you had anything else to add, I feel like this was a pretty good show.
Yeah.
And I wanted to just kind of give people a sneak peek of what we was gonna maybe talk about next show, and I think we're gonna talk more about like off season plans, what we think, what me and Jonathan think is gonna happen this off season, and maybe who should stay, who should go, um, and things like that. So yeah, I'll kick it to you, man.
All right. Before I go, we did this in the last show. We're gonna do it again. I'll be right back. Just give me a couple seconds.
Star J. Nah, I didn't.
So obviously, here's the deal.
No.
We gave this guy flowers last show. We're giving him flowers again. I do not care if he had a bad game 6. We're talking about Broadway, RJ, Star J Barrett. He gets flowers again. This guy, I mean, listen, I've liked this guy ever since we drafted him. I've been rooting for him, and I think the Knicks fans throughout game 6 were really upset at him. Throwing tomatoes all over him in Game 6. And listen, it's a bad game, nightmare game for him in Game 6. But at the end of the day, I think like we were talking about on this show, he's a 22-year-old who's trying to find himself in the NBA, and so far so good. And I like what I see from him. He showed out. He had at the ending of the season, we were kind of questioning what he would do in the playoffs. And the first couple of games, we were still questioning if he was going to show up. And then in the last 3 games of the Cavs series, he showed up. And every single game against Miami, he showed up for the most part, except for game 6 where he had a nightmare game, and then probably game 3 he didn't have that great of a game. But this guy has been playing, really good in the playoffs, and people thought he wasn't going to perform, and he performed. So that's why he gets flowers again. And overall, before we go, like Jordan said, our next show will probably mostly be about the offseason, so stay tuned for that. But lastly, I just want to say this. So for any Knicks fan who, really is upset that our season is over, I personally, genuinely think that even though I'm upset that our season's over, obviously we want this Knicks team to continue to play basketball as long as they possibly can. And, this was a great season. Like I said in the beginning of the show, I thought they weren't even going to make the playoffs, let alone make it to the second round. And here we are talking about they got bounced out in the second round. So this is a great season, So I think my love and appreciation for this New York Knicks team is through the roof right now. I'm proud to be a Knicks fan. And so if the Knicks fans are the harshest fans in all of sports. Once they lose, it's the whole city's falling apart, burn everything down. But I think this was a great year. Hopefully, they can continue it. But and then I also wanted to give flowers to Jalen Brunson because we finally got the guy we needed. Jalen Brunson is showing up for the entire year on a signing which some people thought was a little bit risky, but he just outperformed what we wanted him to do. I mean, the money that we gave to him, we should have gave him more, and what he's given us this year. Sure. So overall, a great year. Good playoff performance by RJ. Great season for RJ. Great season for Jalen Brunson, and just a great season for every member who wore the orange and blue. So that'll be it for me. Stay tuned for Knicks City. Make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you like it. We usually do shorts weekly. Unfortunately, with the season being over, the game reaction, the post game reaction done by me and Jordan won't be a thing until they resume again next year. But we will find a way to create content in regards to the shorts, like Jordan does with he made a couple memes. Stay in tune for those because those are pretty funny and exciting. And then we'll be doing these weekly shows. I'm not entirely sure depending on the off season, what we can come up with ideas. But our plan is to still continue to do this show weekly. So again, if you like this stuff, please make sure that you subscribe, stay tuned. We really love doing this stuff, and so we love giving it to the Knicks fans. So that'll be it from me. Peace. I'll let Jordan close us out.
Yeah, just wanted to say, RJ Barrett, you definitely got your flowers, man. And I definitely want to apologize again for everything that occurred. It was off and on. It was tough, but I would have to say, to be as young as you are, what I'm saying, and to be as, you know, to be in this market, like Jonathan has said multiple times, we either love you or we hate you, or it's like it's no in between. It's like, and then we are very harsh with how we can be as fans, probably the harshest in the NBA. So to be able to handle that and to be able to stick through it at 22 years old and I'm sure hearing all this chatter back and forth about from fans about how you played and different things, and to show up the way you did in this postseason, that just gives me, that just makes me a lot more confident in what you can do as a player and how much better you can get. And I just think he between him and Brunson are our guys. You know what I'm saying? And beyond that, let's see what the Knicks do. I put Grimes in there too. Let me put Grimes in there. That's my guy. But yeah, so yeah, man. But like Jonathan said, we're gonna definitely try and do some weekly shows, or whatever we do, we're gonna definitely try and figure out how to keep pushing content out to you guys. So to keep you guys in tune and keep everybody excited till next October. But yeah, man, this was a great show, and I see y'all on the next one. Peace.